break out the boiled cream and the honey brewed mead, ladies and gentlemen, because it's time for a Friday's episode of ESO Weekly. And we are happy and content today because we have been fed by Zenimax, as it were.
Yeah, actually some interesting information has been coming out. Well, a little bit.
The Shoddy bros are like two guys in a desert just looking for stuff like, please feed me.
We're starving, and we've asked them, quite literally, to feed us. What should we start off with first?
Let's go ahead and start off with the Ask Us Anything combat, and then later on in the episode we'll get into the developer question of the week.
Sure thing. But first off, let me just say that they did announce their Tumblr page. So for you artists out there that enjoy Elder Scrolls, feel free to submit some of your stuff to them, and they will, of course, select some of their favorites and start posting that on their Tumblr page. Also, the Elder Scrolls Online section of the Bethesda store is now also there, so they do have some shirts there if you would like to pick out some of that stuff.
Some swag.
Some swag. But on to the article. Ask us anything about combat. Would you like to read the questions, sir?
Sure. Yeah, let's start up at the top here with, would you please explain the soft locking system in detail? For example, how does it interact with dodge? Does it apply to melee attacks or just ranged? During missile travel time, is it possible for another target to intervene between you and your existing soft lock target to take the attack? And this was submitted by Matt Fissenhamel. I don't know how to say his name. I figured if I said it fast, maybe
that'd be fine.
It'd cover my ass. Yeah.
Zenimax says, you must be facing your target to hit it. However, soft blocking allows you to pick a target out of a crowd to hit. It is possible that your target could be behind another target. You would hit the target you had soft locked, provided you were aiming at them. Another target could not step in the way of the soft lock target to prevent you from hitting your soft lock target. They say soft lock like 26 times. As for dodging, the target can execute a roll dodge or evasion move to avoid attack. So first off, I don't like this, really. I don't like the whole no one can step in the way of an archer's shot. Because that like kind of removes that whole tactic of a tank kind of like running in there to try to mitigate some of that damage from his hurting comrades.
Yeah, well, we missed that epic moment we always get in the movies where they shoot a guy and he's like, no, right? And jumps in the way. Well, come on, man. I wanted to have that epic moment where I jump in front of Kyle, take the arrow to the chest or the knee or whatever, and you cradle me in your arms. Oh, what you doing? No, but seriously, I think a lot of people will be bummed out at this because you're right. It does remove a certain like strategic element that we could have had in PvP to make things more interesting. I'm trying to think of the reasons. Hard to put my mind in the mind of a developer. But I'm trying to think of the reasons why they would go about it this way. Can you think of any, really?
It may kind of push archers into using the whole soft lock mechanic. I mean, I don't really know why they wouldn't, but I don't know. Like, this could still actually happen if they don't use the soft locking thing. So if they are just like shooting blindly at people but not actually targeting them specifically, you know, hitting tab to soft lock. You could still potentially have someone like jump in the way, but most likely, especially with the smaller numbers of people where they can't easily tab target to find their target, they will be using the soft locked mechanic. But I don't know. I really don't like it. Yeah. That you like just think you're shooting at someone that you have soft locked. Someone walks in the way. Does that arrow just go right through them and into the next person?
That's how I see it.
Doesn't
I mean,
like damage that person at all?
That's what I'm reading here, is that it'll just kind of phase through them as if they didn't exist. Oh, I guess you could say it's lore friendly though, because they don't have souls. Maybe they're like ghosts, you know? It just goes through them. No, that still doesn't make sense at all. I'm trying to help Zenimax here. Tamriel Foundry, our buddies over there, jumped to Zenimax's defense saying that it was, they think it's due to latency. It would be too much for the servers or something to handle. Which I could see that. I don't know. I'm not familiar with their engine. I'm not a technical guy by any stretch of the imagination. So the only thing I have to use as a reference are games that I've played. And I'm currently going hot and heavy. Some would say I'm playing it maybe too much, but I don't think there's such thing as too much of a good thing. PlanetSide 2, which is an MMO, has massive battles. I mean, you have tons and tons of characters on the screen at any given time, as well as airships and tanks and all sorts of stuff. God, that's a fun game. Anyway, if you're shooting at someone, somebody jumps in the way, they take the hits.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's even more taxing for PlanetSide 2 because they're using machine guns, which are shooting tons of projectiles, where in ESO we would just have a single arrow or a single spell or something like that.
You kind of want that to hit its mark, basically.
Yeah, so I don't know. For me, I don't think it might be a latency problem. But who knows? Who knows?
I mean, if you think it is a massive group of people and you are trying to specifically hit one person, I can understand why they would want something like that, because it will help their servers identify which target you are attacking. It's just, it does remove that tactic away of that heroic leap into taking the hit for someone else, which I kind of don't like. But I do like that they are throwing in the dodge mechanic. From what I think it was Matt Firewar has been saying, it's very similar to Guild Wars 2 style, where you double tap one of your directional keys and you will dodge in that direction. And I do like that. I love that mechanic in Guild Wars 2. The only thing, though, is I hope it doesn't make you invulnerable for that little dodge maneuver. Like, if you do get out of the way of a shot, then you should obviously not get hit. But if someone's swinging and it still glances you or something, you should get hit at least a little bit, if not the full brunt of the attack. But
yeah, I bet that would be a server thing too. I bet that would be tough to.
So you think it'll just be you'll be invulnerable?
I think it'll be because Guild Wars you were pretty much invulnerable when you were dodging, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think
even AOE's though and stuff, you're invulnerable when you dodge.
Yeah, which is weird. Like you could just dodge through fire and
pretty much
come out unscathed. But I think they're gonna go the Guild Wars 2 route, which I love it. I think it's good. I would like the extra bit of authenticity that you're talking about. But hey, better some dodge than no dodge at all, because it does bring that whole action combat to MMOs, and actually more so than we saw in the Elder Scrolls games, where I don't remember dodging in the Elder Scrolls games I have played. The closest thing, I guess, was the roll and sneak in Skyrim, but I like being able, because it lets skilled players take on a big boss or a big elite mob on their own that they shouldn't normally be able to kill,
right? And
allows them to utilize that dodge in winning. So I like it. Adds skill
and there will also be effective cover as well in ESO, so that'll also add a little bit.
Yeah, they mentioned cover. So what do they mean by cover?
I'm sure they literally just mean you run behind a wall or something.
Yeah.
But there will be that.
Let's hope they don't go the Skyrim route with cover, which you could murder a dragon just by hiding behind a tree every now and then and popping out to shoot your arrow. Have you ever done that?
That's my complete tactic right there.
You could take on a big, huge ancient dragon with a couple of, iron arrows.
And enough patience.
Yeah. But, no, that's cool. I like the whole cover thing. I'm looking forward to utilizing that strategically to my advantage.
Okay, next question, sir.
I know left click will be the main attack's ability, but will there be counterattack abilities you can put on the hotbar that can only be used after a successful block with your shield or weapon? And that was from Jesse Perry.
Zenimax says, there certainly are attacks which work better than when capitalizing on certain opponent states. For example, exploiting your opponent's vulnerability after an interrupt. However, we don't have attacks that wouldn't work without that situation being true. So basically, they're not going to just have attacks that will only be available to that player after they've successfully blocked something or interrupted someone. But those skills that are particular with that, they have that in their little tooltip, may do more damage or something. Or do a stun or cripple or some other kind of after effect. But yes, that's
Which totally makes more sense because, I mean, if you've played your fair share of games, whether it be an action game or, you know, an RPG, or an MMO, you have had abilities that are grayed out completely that you just can't access until an enemy uses a certain ability. And that's always been a bummer for me. It's like, even if this is the wrong ability to use at this time, I should still be able to click it and screw up. Alright, so next question. How important will the Holy Trinity be in PvE endgame/raids? Will dedicated tanks and healers be required, or will lighter armored characters be able to utilize the dodge system well enough to serve as competent tanks? Will healers need to focus entirely on healing, or will a more offensive spellcaster be able to sustain a group via spot heals? And that was from Lynx.
Alright, so this kind of falls into that other question where they were talking about, can I finally be a light armored tank? And all that kind of stuff. So they basically, I'm not going to read all this, but they basically go into a scenario, a real test that they did where a group of kind of weirdly matched people went into this instance and came out, you know, feeling like a boss. Yeah. Because they beat it. So they had like 2 Templars, both of them were light armored. One was a healer, and the other one was also actually had some heals as well. There was one Dragon Knight, also in light armor, and was wielding a destruction staff, so that he was obviously some kind of caster.
That's funny, yeah.
And but that just shows that, you know, the class doesn't like make the character at all.
I love the fact that they're using these to test.
And then to even support that theory even more, there was one sorcerer in heavy armor that was dual wielding. So I'm assuming weapons. They didn't say what they were dual wielding. But anyways, so yeah, they ended up coming out of this on top. What was tanking? I can't quite remember. Was it one of the Templars? Or no, it was one of the sorcerers, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was a sorcerer
using a pet tank.
Yes, this was interesting. It was called a unstable familiar.
Yeah,
which the sorcerer summoned to get the monster's attention. So
probably like that void minion thing from the Warlock in World of Warcraft, something similar to that.
Yeah, and we have an example in the Elder Scrolls games. We were able to summon, you know, those little ghost familiars in the conjuration tree. So that's definitely what that mage is doing here. Is he's using a conjuration spell called Unstable Familiar to essentially taunt the enemy to keep him off the the rest of his group, which is great because that means like mages have abilities that can help them tank.
It's good to know that there are conjuration abilities, period. So we know that you can actually conjure things. So that'll be cool. And hopefully there will be some like undead stuff.
Oh yeah.
You can, those necromancer fans like me.
Some abomination.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm extremely excited to hear that, especially as a battle mage, because I would love to make my tanking like all magic based. I think that'd be so cool.
Definitely, especially if there's a lot of like alteration stuff.
Yeah,
you can start throwing on mage armors and stuff.
Can you hear the nerdgasms, ladies and gentlemen?
But it does just prove that, you know, it's the player and how they choose to play their class. It's not the class itself that determines how the character is going to be it tank, DPS, or heals. So yes, there will still be that sort of Holy Trinity, but your class is not what is putting you in one of those 3. So yeah, it's definitely cool.
Yeah, and definitely instills even more hope than I had before into how Zenimax is going to approach the classes in the Elder Scrolls Online. Very lax and flexible. I love it. Moving on. In the introduction video, you say that you can start with PvP at an early level. Will you be able to level up through PvP? ? By Zan. I'm not even trying that. I'm sorry, Jean. I totally butchered your name.
The answer is yes. Currently, you can start leveling via PvP. And Cyrodiil at level 10. That's where you're going to be.
And the PvP junkies go wild.
Oh my god!
That's great, man.
We figured, you know, as much that you would be able to get some kind of XP through PvP. I mean, that's kind of like the in thing these days.
For sure. Guild Wars definitely did their own little thing there, but I hope they take it a step further in the Elder Scrolls Online, because, make no mistake, I'm going to spend a majority of my time leveling through exploration and just doing quests, but it's great. I love changing it up in PvP, and, especially when you can go in with a couple of friends, not only PvP, but know that you're actually progressing in the game by leveling at the same time, is great, and I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that.
Yep. And, of course, they do kind of reaffirm that fact that you do have to be level 10, though, to get into Cyrodiil. So you will have at least some idea of what your character can do before you just run in there blind.
Yeah, which I've always been against the artificial, limitations of, you have to be this level to get in. But, I guess as new players come in, you don't want them stinking up the battle in Cyrodiil, because they don't know what the hell they're doing at
least not on your side. Yeah. On the other side is like, yeah, fine.
Right, and I think level 10, the bar is considerably low. I don't know how long it takes to get to level 10, but I wouldn't imagine very long.
Probably not very long, no. But also, they do buff you up to level 50, but you only retain the skills and stuff that you had going in, so they won't just give you all the skills and everything. So there is still like the newbie type characters will be buffed up to the more impressive characters, but those more impressive higher level characters will obviously have the advantage due to the fact that they have more skills at their disposal.
And naturally, as they should. No crying about that, people. If somebody plays a game longer than you, and put in the work, they should be able to reap the rewards. And that's coming from a guy who has been considered casual in MMOs. So there's no problem with having heroes to look up to.
Or get spanked by.
Look at the weapon that guy has. Jesus. Alright, next question. With so many people fighting in the world alone, or with groups, what will be done to stop people stealing kills and XP? And that was from Danny Blades. That's an awesome last name. Are you a Blade? You protect the Emperor?
I think he's from the Guild episode.
Oh, Blades.
Yeah,
from
Blades.
the Guild. Oh, that's
that's
great
with
series.
2 Z's, but whatever. Put simply, there is no reason to steal kills. We grant XP to both people for killing, and we have a looting system which makes it so both parties benefit from kills. So obviously this is a great strategy to do to allow people to work together even though they're not in the same group. So it just promotes that kind of camaraderie amongst your alliance.
Oh yeah.
And of course we've seen this in Guild Wars 2 and other games. And it's definitely a step forward in, making it an MMO. I mean, that's what makes it an MMO, and not just fighting for kills and trying to get to that boar before the other one does.
Oh yeah, this is something MMOs should have been doing from the very get-go, and it's amazing that it's now becoming a thing. Yes, MMOs are supposed to be competitive, but ideally they're not supposed to be competitive with the people who are supposed to be your allies.
Yeah.
And seeing another player run up behind you isn't going to be a, hey, get out of here, I'm leveling here. It's going to be a, hey, come help me, we'll get this done faster.
Yep, and the looting system will benefit both parties, so I'm assuming then there will be instanced loot. So only you'll see that loot, and the other person will see something completely different. Obviously, we don't know, but that's just what we'll assume is this system's similar to Guild Wars 2.
It's another freaking important thing, especially you and I played Borderlands 2 together.
Oh, Jesus. Just running for those purples.
Jesus. Especially a game that was so revolved around loot and getting awesome weapons. Gun porn is what they call that game, But, it just makes sense to have everyone get their own loot, and you'll eliminate a ton of the griefing that goes on in MMOs just from that alone. I have a question about your targeting system for combat. From what I've heard, there will be a soft targeting system. My question is, how does this system work in raid/large PvP group for healers? Will healers have a hard time finding players and keeping track of their group's heals? That was from Jacob Avila. Jacob Avila.
They answer, soft lock targeting doesn't really affect healing because you don't have to find your target to heal them. You don't target allies. Most of our heals are area of effect, or AoEs, or cone effects. To be effective, you might want to stay in the middle of your allies for AoEs or face them for cone effects. Healers will need to be aware of their environment, of course, and pay attention to the battle. So this is like immensely different from past MMOs and stuff, where the healer's usually just sitting in the back, looking at nameplates and casting heals. And we've had a little bit of a debate on our Facebook page about this post.
Oh yeah, what are the Shoddies saying?
They actually do like this, what they're doing here, because it does put the healer in the middle of the heat, so it does kind of just make things more interesting for healers. So there may be more healers out there now because of this. At first I was kind of leery about it, because I'm like, well, they're kind of just throwing the healer out there. They're going to be in danger a lot of the time. But then I'm kind of thinking, you know, they're casting AoE heals that's going to heal them as well, so they're not going to be like just hanging out to dry all the time. But also it does kind of force the party as a whole to kind of just keep an extra eye out on that healer and just make sure nothing is getting in there to try to hurt it. So I kind of do like this system they're using.
Yeah, I guess we would have to ask an experienced MMO healer if this is a good thing for them or not, because, I mean, both of us, we've never really healed in our MMOs. I've dabbled a bit. You might have dabbled.
Towards the end I started, yeah. And I actually did enjoy it.
I mostly avoided it because it was like watching paint dry. It was boring, and that was because of what you said, you know, you spend a majority of your time looking at player portraits and watching those bars tick up and down and managing.
I don't know.
Which, for some people, that's their thing, but like you said, throwing them into the middle of the battle, for me, I'm kind of a little more interested in healing now, because okay, I'm in the middle of it. I've got some more stuff to do than just watch the bars go up and down.
Yeah. And there's still sort of is like the targeting heals, not so much where you actually have to click on someone to heal them, but with the cone effects, depending on the range these cones have, it could potentially be sort of like a targeting effect, since you do have to look at them.
Can we define cone effects for people? Because I think that's more of an MMO term.
Sure, cone of effect, just literally there's a cone facing outward from your character where only people in that cone will be healed. We obviously don't know what that radius there is for that cone, or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, that's basically what a cone is. You only heal things within that little cone.
Yeah, imagine your channeled Flames ability, but with a wider
arc,
yes. I guess. Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, we're not good with the geometry stuff. But that's cool. I like it.
How will the bow and arrow system work? Will it just be an auto-aim and an auto-shot kind of thing, or what? And that is by Gabriel. Now, I know a lot of people just got to the edge of their seats because we have a lot of archers out there. A lot of wood elves, I hear.
Like any of our combat, you must aim at your target to hit them. Bows will have a charged attack, meaning they hit harder if you hold down the left mouse button longer. So that's cool.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, like a charging attack with his sword is pretty much the same thing.
And we're definitely used to the charge attack in the test games where you pull back your bow and you can either, half-ass it, I guess, for lack of a better term. I'm sure there's some technical term for that. But, have the bow half drawn, or you can, wait that extra second to get it full drawn and it does more damage. Which I definitely like the options between the two as an archer, because I do remember dueling in the arena, and sometimes it would come down to whoever's going to land that last blow, and to get a fast shot off that does a bit of damage can help you in those tight spots. So yeah, I'm sure archers will be glad to hear that.
Last question.
You've stated that any class can use any weapon, but will different weapons have different abilities? For example, I plan on being a healing Templar character. Will I have the same healing abilities with a greatsword than with a staff? And that was from Zalkar.
Yes, each weapon has a unique set of abilities that can be unlocked as your skill increases. For example, if you become an expert with Restoration Staff, you can use the ability Grand Healing. Hey, that's straight from Elder Scrolls. Grand Healing. If you equipped your greatsword, you will not be able to use that ability. Your Templar healing spells, however, can be used regardless of what type of weapon you have equipped. Finally, you can equip a backup weapon and swap between the two in combat. If you can have one loadout with a restoration staff and healing abilities, and then swap mid-combat to a greatsword with damage abilities. And the only reason I was saying it like that is because they just did confirm that you can swap weapons mid-combat, which was a big question for me because they hadn't answered it. Now they have.
Oh yeah, the switching weapons in the middle of combat was great in Guild Wars, yes. And people obviously take it for granted in single-player games like Skyrim. But having that confirmed was very important for an MMO because most MMOs don't allow you to do that.
Yeah.
When you're engaged in combat, whatever weapon you have in your hand at the start of the battle is glued there. You know, there's no throwing it away. It's kind of just stuck. So
yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, and switching weapons in the middle of battle, yeah, I like it for its, extra layer of funness.
It's basically like having at least 2 extra skills with you. Now, you probably can't switch the skills associated with those weapons in mid-combat. You probably have to do that beforehand. But it is nice to know that if I'm getting my ass whooped, I could switch to that restoration staff and hit an AoE heal, and then there you go.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really cool. There's probably going to be like a cooldown or something on the swapping of weapons, similar to Guild Wars 2. Don't know. I'm assuming that there's going to be, just for like balancing or whatever. But anyways, shall we go on to the question of the week? And this is for the lore aficionados out there.
Yes, the lore guys are going to eat this up.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and play that for you guys.
Hi, my name's Tracy Seamster, and I'm a writer-designer with The Elder Scrolls Online, here with this week's Question of the Week. When you're traveling throughout Tamriel, through any of the Elder Scrolls games, you'll find books that have an immense amount of lore about the world in which you live. What's your favorite Elder Scrolls book?
So, a writer, Tracy Seamster, has asked us what our favorite book was. Did I say that right? Or did
you did.
Okay.
I was just thinking, we were just making a joke. It's like when I was reading it, who it was from, I read it Tracy Seamaster.
And you almost...
Because, I don't know, when you look at it, I mean, your mind kind of puts an A in between the M and S, and I was like, Seamaster. I'm like, wait, there's no A there, it's Seamster. That would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, so Tracy Seamstress has asked us what our favorite Elder Scrolls book is. And Tracy, that is an unfair question, because there are so many good books in that game. So Kyle, what's your favorite book that you've read?
Oh God.
And I know this is an interesting question to ask you.
I know there's like 85% of people out there that's going to be like, the lusty Argonian maid. Mm-hmm. And it is definitely hilarious. I don't actually read like any of the books. I'll read like the pamphlets and stuff or the journals, because those are interesting because they have to do with what you're doing then and there. But I really don't read a lot of the books. But since we did do the Boethiah's Proving, I did really like that book.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It was very dark and stuff, and I liked it.
Oh yeah, and it's got that twist at the end of Boethiah's Proving, where you don't really expect that guy to just randomly pull out a dagger and plunge it into the chest of his partner. There's actually so many books in the Elder Scrolls series that have that surprise twist at the end. I'm thinking of books like Immortal Blood was a really good one. If you haven't read that, I won't spoil any of the twists or anything like that, but that was a really good one. Then you have the obvious ones that people are going to say for nostalgia and just because it's funny and fun, the Lusty Argonian Maid. There's some other gag ones too, like have you read that one book by that Nord barbarian? It's called Alduin is Real, and he ain't Akatosh. In the whole book, he writes like, Akatosh ain't no Alduin, and it's because my pa and my ma said that they weren't. And
what the hell?
That's the whole book is written like in that Nord. Yeah, there's definitely some really good books out there, and I couldn't narrow it down to just one. I would say one of my favorite book series, because they have like, some of the books come in a series.
Large volumes, yeah.
Yeah, volumes of books. Is the, I think it's called The Real Life Berenzia, or The Real Berenzia is the name of the series. and it talks about this dark elf queen. And anyway, I won't bore the people who don't like to read the lore books. Kyle's yawning next to me right here, but I'm sure we'll visit it in the lore series because it's a very cool story. The furries will especially like that story because it has some Khajiit on dark elf action.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be some retarded-looking babies.
It gets beastie. But anyway, without running the risk of sounding even more like a pervert than I already am, yeah, let us know, guys. What is your favorite book in the Elder Scrolls series? And do you even read them? I know some of you might not even read them, and to that we go, but whatever. Anyway, this has been the Shoddy Cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget to, actually, we're gonna go ahead and start a new series today. A new, yeah. The Shoddy Cast is branching out. You know, we've done some general gaming stuff on the channel before, but, because we noticed that some of the Let's Plays we do, people are interested in kind of what the game is, and we don't really go about explaining that. So, the first game we're going to dive into, though, is Path of Exile, and the reason I'm actually discussing it on the show right now is because it actually has a connection to the Elder Scrolls in that the class system in Path of Exile is a very, very open-ended class system, and it is the class system that I hope to see in the Elder Scrolls Online. It just serves as a base to build off of. So if you're interested in seeing what an open-ended class system looks like, maybe you're afraid of having the class restrictions in the Elder Scrolls Online, I would definitely tune into that. And I would tune in just because, hey, it's Josh and Kyle, man, doing a video.
Yeah, and don't forget Saturday, lore video.
Saturday lore video, yes, the next installment. And it's a chapter installment, too, so it's one of the big long ones.
Yes,
so.
not a lore book. So let's just try to get that into your skull. But there's the lore books every other week, and then in between those weeks are our long edition of the lore series.
Yes. Anyway, guys, don't forget to help us out. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I have been Josh.
And I have been Kyle.
We'll catch you later.
Boy.